It's great to see some familiar faces and some new faces. Now, I've been around quite a while, and I've lived through quite a few recessions. 5, according to Wikipedia. Five major recessions in my lifetime alone. And when I put this to the organisers about 6 months ago as a topic for my presentation, I didn't realise how really topical it would be. So I've been here now since about 10 o'clock. Have we got a new Prime Minister? Or everything's still the same? No, I think everything's the same at the moment. Okay. But yeah, it is. We are living through some really odd, strange, tough times. But the good news is that although I've been around for five major recessions in my lifetime, the coffee shop's been around a lot longer than us, a lot longer than me. Any idea how long a coffee shop has been around in the UK? How many hundreds of years? So it's 372 years. In 1650, the first coffee shop in the UK opened in Oxford, my hometown, called the Grand Cafe. And a couple of years later, just across the road, another one opened called Queen's Lane Coffee House. Now, these two coffee shops have lived through the bubonic plague, the Napoleonic Wars, 2 world wars, plus all the other stuff. So, and they're still going strong. They're actually opposite each other. You know, how people are saying to me, I'm worried about people opening up a competition, opening up close by. This is a really good example of coffee shops thriving or businesses thriving when they open close together. That, you know, Queen's Lane could have opened anywhere in the world, anywhere in the country, but they decided to open their second coffee shop in the country next door to the first one. So a little bit about me. You were wondering what has this guy got to know about, you know, why is he stood here talking about how to run a coffee shop? Well, my name is Andrew Bowen. I am the author of with my wife, Claire, who sat in the front row, of the world's best-selling book on how to open a coffee shop, The Daily Grind. And I still got to pinch myself every time I say that, actually, because it sounds a bit big-headed, but actually it sells really well, and we're amazed how well it sells. Now, we wrote the book because we had our own small chain of coffee shops, which was very successful, and we used to get loads and loads of people come and ask us for help and advice. And also, we saw lots of people open close by to us who closed quite quickly. So we thought we should really put some stuff down in writing, and that's how the book came apart. So it's from our own experience. The other thing we do is we run the Coffee Shop Startup Club, which is a leaflet on your chair, which is a club for anybody who wants to open a coffee shop. It contains our full training course that we used to run in London, called the Coffee Shop Bootcamp. It's on video. There is a private coaching group as well, and all the templates, all the systems and processes you could ever think you would need to open a coffee shop. So a little bit more about that at the end. We've got a special show offer. And on top of that, we work with coffee shops and hospitality businesses all over the world, really, to start up, open up, and to expand. And sometimes we fix them. Sometimes we help them a lot. So today's presentation is all around the key success factors that businesses that have longevity all have in common. Okay, so there are 7 key things from our experience and from watching the industry that you need to, if you're thinking of opening a coffee shop. So can I just have a quick show of hands? How many people here have actually got their own coffee shop, existing coffee shop? And how many people are thinking of opening a coffee shop? Yeah, so that's probably 80-20. And anybody just resting their feet? Yeah, there's a couple as well. That's cool. So there is a lot of people still wanting to open a coffee shop. So if you're thinking of opening a coffee shop, it'd be well worth you putting some thought into these key success factors in your plans. The first element that all long-living, successful businesses have is they have a purpose. So they have a mission. They have a vision. The owners, the founders have put a lot of work or a lot of thought into what's going to make their business, what their business stands for. Because once you've got that clarity, you can make every other decision much faster. So for instance, if I was about to open a real top-end specialty coffee shop, then immediately I would know I would need to get a really good coffee from a really good roaster. I wouldn't be able to go into Booker's and buy me coffee. I would need a top-end coffee machine, because if I didn't, then people would walk in and think, well, that's, you've got great coffee, but a rubbish coffee machine. So all those little elements sort of fall in line. Now, if I was going to do a business that was on an eco business, you get what I'm saying? So you need to be really clear on that. Now, often people think, this is not the sort of sexy bit, really. People think about when you're opening a business, what coffee am I going to use? What coffee machine am I going to buy? What chairs? What music am I going to play? Where am I going to open? All those sort of things. People get wrapped up in all that little minutiae detail too soon in the process without getting that real clarity. And of course, once you've got that clarity, you've got that, as I said, you've got that automatic filter. So you can make a decision based on that vision, based on your ideals. So you just use that filter. So you ask yourself, does this fit with my values? If it does, yes, we'll do it. If it doesn't, then I won't. In fact, one of the first chapters of our book is all about the why. So we call it our why. Our why was that we wanted to work for ourselves and we wanted to be part of the community. We wanted to be an integral part of the community and operate a business that people wanted to open in their community because we were an integral part of it. And that was simple. That was our simple why. We didn't want to change the world. We just wanted to be, really, really integrated with the local community, the local schools, the local sports teams, all that sort of stuff, just to add value to them. The next key thing these businesses have is they all know their numbers. They all are really passionate around their numbers. So they'll know what their daily break-even figure is. They'll know how much every single product they sell, how much it makes them, what their margin is on every single thing. They'll know, what their waste is every day. They'll know what their rent, what their staff cost is every day, and they keep on top of that. So I know you might do that in your planning stage. You might sit down with your spreadsheet and work out what your margin is going to be or what your rent's going to be as a percentage. But often as not, that's once that planning stage is gone, that's forgotten about. And often we find that when we go in and visit clients, we'll say, well, how much, what's your gross margin? Well, they don't really know because they worked out what a bacon sandwich cost them to make 5 years ago when they first started. But of course, everything's gone up in price. So they're working blind. And sometimes, the first thing they know about whether they made any money or not that month is, 2 months later when the accountant gives them the figures. So the key thing around successful, long-lasting businesses is that the owners and the founders really understand their numbers. And in terms of some of the key metrics, you've got to get your rent below 10%. You've got to get your wages below around 30%. And you've got to get your cost of sales, your gross margin to about 75%. If your business plan says you've got a 30% rental, then you're never going to make any money. The only money you're going to make is for the landlord. So you've got to be really crystal clear on those numbers to make sure that they actually stay in line. And you might be thinking, well, if I'm thinking of opening a coffee shop, how do I know what that percentage is? So I know what the rent is going to be. Say my rent's 20 grand. How do I know what that is a percentage? Well, you've really got to have an estimate of sales, obviously. And that's about you standing outside the potential unit and just seeing who's walking past, see if they're your type of customers, working out what your average spend is going to be based on what your menu is going to be. So, for example, if you were to open a 20-seat coffee shop, and how much would you take on a 20-seat coffee shop? Well, it's a combination of how many people you can get through. So if on average they spend 30 minutes with you, and they spend £6 each, and you're open 8 hours a day, and you've got 20 seats, so add all those numbers up, and you end up with about £400 a day. So your rent would then need to be less than £40 a day, and you can work that out through the year. So you need to be clear about that. And just, there are ways to estimate how much you're going to take. So yeah, being really, really clear on the numbers so you can make decisions in the now, not based on 6 months ago. So knowing how much money you made last week, do a weekly stock take and really understand that. Who's had a bad boss? Anybody in the room had a bad? Yeah, pretty much everyone. I've had a bad boss. How, the sort of person, the person that actually doesn't want you, that makes you not want to come to work in the morning. They might work for a really, really good business. They might be a really big business, but because they might be a junior manager or badly trained, they just make you feel bad. So the next trait that these long-lasting businesses have is that they all have great leadership. And again, that goes back to the purpose. So the founders understand their purpose, they understand their vision, and because of that, that helps them become better leaders. So, and we all know how hard it is to get hospitality people at the moment, anybody to work anywhere, not just in hospitality at the moment. But we are finding we have got clients that don't have this problem. And they typically have great managers and great leaders at the top. So you end up with this virtuous cycle where people want to work for a business. Because I sat through a presentation earlier, and apparently the first 90 days and people's confidence or happiness with their rota is probably is the main reason people leave. So if you can employ people and make sure they're happy with their rotas and asking them questions and showing great leadership, running a coffee shop, we've been there, we've got the t-shirt. It is can be a stressful job. You don't know whether people are going to turn up in the morning or the machine's going to break or your toilet's going to block, and it's, all those things happen when you least want them to do. But it's the leaders that keep calm during this stress. They're the ones that actually engage their teams and have greater loyalty. And again, this loyalty, this team, shows itself in greater productivity. So you know how hard it is to train people. We used to say it took somebody 6 months to learn the job when they came to work for us. By the time, if they'd never made coffee before or worked in hospitality before, it'd probably take a good 6 months before they were at a stage where they were 100% productive. So the minute you have people that stay with you for longer because of that great leadership, you end up with improved productivity, greater satisfaction for customers because you're making less errors, greater satisfaction for the team because the team starts gelling, and ultimately, greater profit for everybody. The next key thing really for a coffee shop that is going to last a long time is that they have great food. Okay? Gone are the days where you can open a coffee shop and on your business plan, what are you going to do? I'm going to sell coffee, cakes, toasties. Oh, I might do soup if it's cold in the winter. Those days are gone, guys. Okay? We did it 50, 20 years ago and we got away with it. But the consumers moved on. And there's no excuse. Just look, I know you can make excuses internally because you ain't got the space, or you might not have the ventilation, or you might not have the planning permission, all that sort of stuff. But just look at some of the food that these little tiny food trucks prepare. We got loads of examples around here, these very small food trucks, and they are producing food that is world class from something smaller than my garden shed. So anybody with a coffee shop or a cafe who is making an excuse they can't do good food, you really need to have a good talk with yourself, because you need to make the mundane magic, and there's ways of doing it. With high-speed ovens and with the technology now, you're amazed at what you can prepare in a small unit without ventilation. And the other critical thing is that they are not too complicated. So who's seen Gordon Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares recently? And you've all seen that, haven't you? When was the last time? Do you remember the time he went in somewhere and he did his normal thing? He ordered everything off the menu. I have one of everything, and they all go, oh, no. And then he sits down with all this stuff around him, and then he said, I know what you need to do. You need to put some more things on the menu. He never does that, does he? That episode that hasn't been made, because he has never done that. So you've just got to keep it simple and just do one thing really well. If you can just find one thing you can be famous for and do it really, really well. And that is the key, because a simpler menu, things that people love, you delight customers from it, all that sort of stuff, people will start talking about it. So just think about what is that one thing that you can do amazingly well to really up your food offer, and just forget about toasties and sandwiches, yeah? Now, we all like going to a place that has a really good vibe. The next sort of commonality with these businesses that do really well and last the test of time is they all have a great atmosphere, a great buzz, a great vibe. Now, it's a combination of lots of things that make it. So it's, from the music to the decoration to the design to the tastes and the smells to the seating to the actual people working there themselves. All these things have a sort of come together to produce this vibe. And you really need to consider, if you're thinking of opening or if you've got an existing business, how do I get that buzz? How do I get that vibe? Because people want to make memories. They want to go somewhere and they want to remember you. So the design is really important. So you can have a themed place. You can have a cat cafe or a dog cafe or a cycle cafe. You can even, like one of our clients did, Chairs and Coffee, stick chairs on the wall. They literally walked in one day. They took over a unit. They had all these spare chairs, odd sizes and shapes. So what could we do with them? I tell you what, we'll stick them on the wall. Actually screwed them on the wall. So everyone knows Chairs and Coffee is the place you go. It's got the chairs on the wall. So, they've become a little bit famous because of that. Really quirky and really easy and really simple. And design is not quite on this buzz thing, but design is really important in terms of ergonomic design. So the really best places understand the importance of getting the design of the operation, the design so the operation is effective. So again, we've come across clients with milk fridges 50 yards away, up 2 flights of stairs, because they hadn't really thought about it. They've been operating 4 or 5 years and wondered why all the baristas were worn out and why the queue kept on building up. Because every time they run out of milk, and they could hold about 3 or 4 bottles on the counter, every time they ran out, the barista used to go get some milk. Off they went, up the stairs, back downstairs, and then start. By moving that fridge a little bit closer, not only did the queue go faster, but the barista didn't wear his shoes out quite as often and went home a bit happier. So everyone was happy. So think about it's the little things you do right at the beginning in terms of the layout, because you pay for every footstep. Every footstep your team take, you pay for. Simple. So the less footsteps you can get them to take, the better all round. So what are you famous for? So I've mentioned famous already a few times, yeah? So you need to think about how you can make your place famous. So we've just come back from the States. We had a little trip to California, and we've met a couple of clients, and we also did a bit of bucket list stuff. But most importantly, we came across pretty much every cafe, restaurant there is famous for something, and they're not afraid to tell you. So I got a few slides just to give you the idea. So these guys had the best ice cream on the planet. It's verified by National Geographic. And it was really nice ice cream. And then we had the world famous Fish Witch. And then top 10 best chocolate in the USA. World's greatest hot sandwich. So all these things are all in a similar sort of part of the country. And again, world famous. And again, world famous. So they're not afraid to shout about how good they are. And we're a little bit reticent, but it is really important to get famous for something. As I said earlier, if you find that one thing that you can be really good at, really, really good at doing, whether it be a breakfast burrito or whether it be a milkshake or whether it be something you make, you invent, if you can become famous for that, Instagrammable, all that sort of stuff. And in the UK, there's a number of brands that espouse these 7 virtues that I've talked about. So if you look at the likes of Grind, Gentleman Baristas, Daisy Green, Black Sheep, these all, by the way, are all recent businesses, all open within the last 10 years. They're all doing amazingly well. They've all found it really easy to get funding. Well, I'm sure they wouldn't. If I spoke to David Bramich from Grind, I'm sure he wouldn't say it was easy. But they've all managed to get funding. And they've all grown really well. So Gentleman Baristas are famous for their well-mannered coffee. Grind are obviously the cafe bar that turns into a cocktail bar with that real vibe. Black Sheep with the Robusta coffee, and Daisy Green with the Australian vibe. So they're all built around something. And these are all built by individuals, by a single guy, and then there's two guys there, 3 blokes there, and a couple. So they're all started where you're at. If you're on the beginning of your journey, these guys have come through COVID as well, and they've all come out really strong. But they got a strong ethos. They've all got a strong ethos. They've all got strong leadership. It's fun to work in these places, and it's a virtuous cycle. So think about what you're going to be famous for. And the final point is that you really got to understand, all these people understand, all these businesses, all the successful long-term businesses understand what they sell. Now, we all sell coffee. We all sell cakes. Some of us will do some other food. We all provide a place for people to come and chill or to meet. Or do some work even, with the coffees. So there's lots of things that the coffee shop provides to your clients, to your customers. Sometimes we become surrogate family because the people that come in will not speak to anybody else all day. That you're the barista or you be on the counter, the only person that person speaks, so you become their family. So we sell more than just that. But ultimately, the business that you're in, the business that we're all in, is the happiness business. So these businesses that last make you feel happier when you leave than when you come in. So if your job as owners and founders is to get people to just be a fraction happier when they leave your business than when they walk in. You've got to put smiles on people's faces. You've got to bring fun into their lives. You've got to bring joy into their lives. And these are the businesses that do really well and last forever. In fact, one of the longest lasting, most successful hospitality businesses in the world actually sells Happy Meals, McDonald's. So, in summary, the sort of purpose-driven businesses where the founders really know their numbers, show great leadership, sell amazing food, really good food, we have a real buzz and a good vibe. They become famous for something, and they are in the happiness business. Thank you.